Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm going to close the sound right up here. Welcome back 2 days later. Stuart and Paul were kind enough to want to replay the match on stream. So basically, during the finals of the Set Roulette tournament, which lasted it started around 1, and I think the finals, or like what was going to be the finals, was around 7 or 8 p.m. But unfortunately, one of the players had connection issues, and it's during Swiss rounds or whatever. If someone has connections issues or whatever, we're just gonna issue them a loss because we can't delay the entire tournament. But when it's the finals, we want to see some magic happening, and we're not really pressured by time. And because they were kind enough, we were able to postpone the finals, and we are going to have them play tonight. We're hoping that Stuart does not slaughter Paul because he has a very well-positioned deck for the tournament. We're just going to... I wanted to put you in context, basically, before we start the finals. So, Set Roulette, if you haven't seen or heard about it or played in the last tournament last Saturday, it's a format that we created that has 6 random magic sets from the History of Magic that are legal. And the 6 random sets were, you can see them here. Right here. So Urza's Saga, Plane Shift, Dark Ascension, Dragon's Maze, Concept Arcure, and M19. So players had about 10 days to brew, come up with decks, and register a deck for a tournament. We had about 60 players playing a tournament. We had 6 rounds plus a top 8, and the tournament was dominated. Well, I can't say dominated because the tournament has not ended yet, or plus it might not even win the tournament, but it was the most popular deck, and I think the most obvious deck. Everyone that spent a little time trying to find what was the best deck, and just like even looking at cards, it was pretty obvious that zombies, some sort of mono black aggro deck, mono black contamination deck, was the most obvious and the strongest shell. There was a lot of cards playable, so we saw a bunch of builds, but they were all like zombies decks with contamination, and the rest, like maybe Duress main deck, Tragic Slit main deck. There's like a wide array of cards that people could choose to fill the rest of their slot. We're gonna take a look at the lists that are played tonight. I'm gonna do that right, not here, yep. Alright, so this is the Absent deck. We're just going to look at the Zombies deck that Paul is playing. So there's 8 Lords that people could play, 4 Death Baron and 4 Lord of the Undead. We saw lists that were playing none. We saw lists that were like 2, 4, 6, 8. Paul decided with 6. There's something funny about them, is that Lord of the Undead is probably the worst one, especially if you're expecting mirrors, because it says other zombies and not you control. So it's pretty awful in the mirror, or like not necessarily awful, but awkward for sure. So most people actually went with Dead Baron, or at least more numbers of Death Baron than Lord of the Undead, and I think Paul correctly did that here. There's one thing that I like about Paul's list, and Zvi Moshowitz actually highlighted a few lists, and he said that he thought the best deck for the tournament was going to be a Zombies deck that was playing more Persecute than most people. Paul was playing 1 in the main and 2 more in the sideboard. And I think I agree with Zvi. Persecute is amazing when you're playing Dark Ritual and Friction Tower to power it out faster. And Persecute was specifically well-positioned in the format because the mana was so bad in the 6 sets that monocolor decks... I'm just going to close my Discord here. Monocolor decks were basically... It was much better to try to play a monocolor deck because the mana was bad. So for those reasons, there were like mono blue show and tell decks. There were there were like 2-color decks, but they were heavily 1-color. In the mirror match, Persecute, if you can power it out like turn 2, you get rid of your opponent's entire hand. It's obviously very good. So, yeah, a Persecute, just a really good card, and I wanted to highlight that from Paul's list because he has 1 main and 2 on the sideboard. I think the rest is pretty straightforward. Only has 3 Contamination, which is, not playing 4 might be a downside in this matchup because it's one way to just steal a game against Abzan. So you wouldn't think that an Abzan, I'm saying Abzan, like, why would that be so good against zombies? So the reason is Stuart went with 4 Blood Baron of his Copa main deck and 2 Disciple of Grace main deck, which shows how much he... Like, there were people who were like, okay, I'm just going to play zombies. It's just a really good shell. I'm going to play 4 Duress and sideboard, 4 Tragic Slip, whatever. Persecute just seems like a good card. Not really going to think about all my slots and, like, if I should be main decking stuff. But there were people that were like, okay, this zombies deck is really good. What can I play that's really good against it? And I think playing stuff like Thalia, that's a first-star creature. Voice of Resurgence is super resilient. And Nefanza, that's really good against Gravecrawler, Messenger, all that stuff. Tragic Slip, that's a cheap removal. Fertile Ground to beat Contamination. And also play Blood Baron and Disciple of Grace. Really shows that Stuart was ready for that matchup. And rightfully so. He's in the finals. I think he's extremely favored in this matchup. I think one of the only ways that zombies can win is by powering out Contamination as fast as possible. And hoping that Stuart didn't have a Fertile Ground already in play. And the other way I think he can win is come out of the gate super quickly with like a Dart Ritual and a Lord or something, and have Stuart stumble on his mana. Like, I talked about how the mana was bad in this format, and it's true. Like, look at their land. Look at Stuart's lands. Okay, he has a tri-land and a fetch land, so that's nice. But the rest, you have Evolving Wilds and Jungle Hollow and so many basics. So yeah, the mana is awkward, but if things go right for Stuart and he's able to not stumble in his mana, I think he's extremely favored here. So with that said, I think players are ready. I told them 8:50, so 4 more minutes. I'm just gonna. So the person on the play is gonna be the person who was higher seed. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you a little bit more context, basically, because I think it's pretty important that we dive a little bit onto like the tournament. And so this was the top 8. Sorry, I'm talking to the players. All right, so this was the top 8. As I said, Zombies was heavily the most popular deck and most played deck, and I think it's rightfully so. I think it was just a really good deck to play, or at least like the level 1 of the format for sure. This was the top 8. The Death and Taxes deck is, I believe, another. It's like a black-white tokens deck kind of with 2 Sorens. There were 2 different Sorens legal, and he had main deck Blood Baron, I believe. Okay, he had one, but he had a toolbox for his Diabolic Intent, and I think that they didn't have the Disciple of Grace in the main deck in the sideboard. But this was another deck that was fairly well positioned for the mono black format. But you can see the top 8 is just Blood Baron decks and mono black decks. And there were other decks played for sure. We saw mono green elves in 9th place. There were a few combo decks, Fluctuator decks, Show and Tell decks. There were Time Spiral decks like Nexus of Fate, Fog decks, or just combo straight up. So I would say that the metagame was basically zombies, Abzan, or like zombies, Blood Baron decks, and like blue combo decks. I think that like it was kind of like a rock paper scissors. So mono black was probably good against combo because it had duress, it's fast, and it has contamination. And Abzan is good against zombies, and combo is good against Abzan because it's fairly slow. Sure, they have duress and like some disruption, but I think it's too slow for the good combo decks basically. So I think the players are ready. Standing by. Yep. All right. I'm gonna say 1 minute, and we're gonna jump right into the match. So here we are. So we're gonna be looking from the perspective of Paul Green. I have a question in the chat. Hey, what's up, John? How you doing? Hoping it's you. When's the next Set Roulette? The next Set Roulette is... it's already announced, scheduled. I'll give you a link. Actually, if you do that... If you do that right here, and you click... never mind. Yeah, that doesn't give you the link. To get the link, you will... I'll give it to you in a second. All right. I put the link in the chat right now. So I think it's like May 24th. And the reveal of the set is scheduled for Thursday, like about 10 days before, but it's actually going to be Sunday. I have to change it. We want to give players exactly 1 week. I think that's like the feedback that we received is that 10 days was a little bit too much, but I think 10 makes the most sense. All right, so the players are going to be ready fairly soon. You guys can start. I think they were listening. You can start whenever. All right, so they'll start very soon. Thank you, Maximus Prime, for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. All right, so they're going to challenge each other with Magic Online. All right. Here we have it. Also, one thing that's super nice is that today MTG Melee announced that they now have like a free-form setting for when we create tournaments, which means that we will be able to have a no ban list Set Roulette next time. This time we had to abide by either Legacy or Vintage. We chose Legacy. But next time we will be able, if we hit a set that has banned cards or something, we're gonna be free to have a tournament that has no bannings at all, which I think is better, because I think for this format, like we had Tolerant Academy banned just because it's banned in Legacy, but I don't even think it would have been very good in this format. There's just not that many artifacts, so abiding by another format's ban list is kind of weird, and I think if we have one tournament, it's not really a big deal that we have that we don't have any banned cards. All right, so we got a... Oh, wow. That's actually... Okay, so Paul mulled to 6, and he kept a decent hand that had contamination, so one of his best ways to win the game. But Electric Sweater, a.k.a. Stuart, had Duress on turn 1, which he plays 4 of, and it's actually pretty bad against the Zombies deck outside of contamination. But I think if you know that Paul is going... One of his best chances to mulligan into the contamination, and he took a mulligan. Well, I guess he didn't know that because we had Stuart on the play, but basically, like Duress makes sense because your opponent will want to try to keep contamination in hand. All right, so we're gonna have an actual game. Actually, They both players mulliganed. So yeah. So maybe like maybe Stewart. I'm just gonna name them by the names we see on the screen. Electric Sweater decided to mulligan last, right? So he's probably like, okay, my opponent mulliganed. This increases the chance that that what they're trying to do is try to find contamination, and maybe his hand was not stellar, so they're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna mulligan, try to either find maybe fertile ground, a better hand, or a hand with duress. So now they played a second duress, which the second one is really bad. So at least PG8 has a chance here, and he has a decent hand too. Just Messenger, one of the best 3-drop, well, the best 3-drop you can play. Probably one of the best creatures you can play in the format too, along Siege Rhino. PG really wants to fade said Siege Rhino now. There's a good chance that Electric Sweater doesn't have it just because they don't actually have many grain sources that comes in untapped. They actually don't even have that many grain sources. Yeah, they have 2 Living Wilds, 2 Jungle Hollow, 3 Forest, 4 Windswept 8th, and 4 Citadel. Okay, that's actually many, but it's only 7 of them that comes into play untapped. So maybe PG will be lucky and will fade. Also, Electric Sweater only has 1 card in hand here, so they either have to take the Rhino or the green source. Alright, probably nothing. Also, you like to see that. I'm actually a little surprised that Electric Sweater decided to Tragic Slip the Gravecrawler knowing that PG8 had a Death Baron in hand. That potentially means that he has another Tragic Slip. Okay, you wanted to do that. That's decent, I guess. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I want to believe that he had the second Tragic Slip when he made the first one because of the Remorseful Cleric. Oh, he made a huge mistake here, though. He should... Oh, no. Okay, wait. So what he should have done is... Okay, there's actually no way for him to exile this Red Joust Messenger because he needed Morbid, right? So there's no way for him to sack and then Tragic Slip or something like that. Okay, but that's actually a really good follow-up. Yeah, there was no way for him to... Okay, so he could have gotten rid of the Joust Messenger only if he had another Morbid that was not the Remorseful Cleric. Okay, we have actually I think we are kind of at parity. With PG being slightly ahead on board, but his draws are generally worse than the Abzan one because just Abzan draws are just, it has like Vivian. Well, Blood Baron is 2 lands away from, so is Vivian, I guess, so that eliminates that, but I guess actually a lot of his strats are green. Voice, Siege Rhino, and Infenza all require green. So Electric Sweater is going to have to draw a green source before Duress. Yeah, I mean, really, I don't like the firing of Duress there, just because, like, why wouldn't you wait, really? But on the other hand, it's not like the Zombies deck has many cards that he wouldn't just play right away. So I guess it makes sense. Like, they could have Dark Ritual, and it's 1 card that you can hit. It's not nothing. So I think it makes sense to fire off the Duress. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. The Disciple's Grace, is doing work. It's basically gaining 5 life every turn. But now Graveyard Marshal is going to start eating the Remorseful Cleric. Never mind, it's from your graveyard, not all graveyard. So it's a 4-3, but it's still a 4-3. The Remorseful Cleric doesn't do nothing because it blocks the Death Baron, so PGA is able to attack with a 4-3 and a 5-4. Oof. That's... Okay, do you play it, actually? Huh, that's interesting. You're going to start by attacking, see what happens. But I think you probably don't play it. I think you wait to see if they play a green source, like, and it's likely that it will be a tapped green source, then I think you might want to consider it a contamination. I think he was supposed to take 2, then tap, slip the crawler, then slip the messenger and sack. Yeah, Morbid works with anyone, right? It's not just your cards. Actually, I can read it here. Yeah, that... You wouldn't have enough mana, though, right? Because the cleric was not in play, or was it? I don't remember if it was in play or not. But you might be right. Okay, so the downside here of attacking with the Marshal is that Electrosaur gets to double block, but are you okay with that? Maybe you're not okay. The problem is that you're doing nothing if you don't do that. So I think it's correct to attack with both, because that enables you to attack with Death Baron the following turn. Otherwise, you just don't attack with anything, right? And then I don't think you want that. I don't think you want to be in a stalemate in this matchup. Okay, he decides to attack with the Dead Baron. That means Electrosaur cannot, or, well, if they double block the Marshal, they take 2. But I think for sure Electrosaur there wants to just eat the Death Baron. Actually, if he eats the Death Baron, okay, I like this attack. I really like this attack because he can't just if he trades with the Death Baron, that means Graveyard Marshal makes a 2/2, right? So it's just free. So I think Electrosaur is priced in doing that double block. So attacking with the Baron was actually free. That was a good attack. I think you attack your Trade Lord for Spirit, down 6, Contamination, make a token. So, are you saying, Simon, that you would have attacked with only the Death Baron and the Jaros Messenger? And not the Marshal? I mean, I kind of like... I like PG8's spot here. It's not terrible. And Electrosaur's on 3. So don't have many draws to get there. Yeah, I mean, I do think Electrosaur made the good block. But on the other hand, he doesn't know that PG has the contamination. But it was a free 2/2 if he didn't do that. Citrus Supplier might be really good here because it might find a Bloodsoak Champion or a Gravecrawler. But it's also just something you can sack to the contamination. So I think that's going to be game. The 1/1 is super relevant too. And like worst case, you don't sack anything to the Citrus Supply to the contamination. You can just decide to sack it itself, and that's a time walk, right? All right, so how are players going to sideboard? So I was looking at the Absent list, and almost every card in the Absent deck is white. So I think Persecute is good, and PG figures that out, brings in the 2 of them. Despite Absent being a 3-color deck, almost all the cards are multicolored. And like one of the cards that's not white is Vivian Reed, which might not even be good in the matchup. So Stuart is going to Stuart has Ray of Revelation, Lingering Souls, Disciple of Grace, get Grafdigger's Cage in this sideboard. I don't know if they're bringing in Cage. I don't know if they're bringing in Ray of Revelation. Their 2 cards are kind of narrow, but don't do nothing. For sure, they're bringing in Disciple of Grace and Lingering Souls, I think. Paul decides to bring in his... He boards out the Pestilence, which I think rightfully so. He doesn't bring in Crypt Incursion for sure. Is he bringing in Tragic Slips? He boarding out Blood-Soaked Champion, maybe? Yeah, I mean, if you're expecting them to board... They have, like... Well, they have a really good way to just stop your 2-1. So I think boarding out the worst one, which is Blood-Soaked Champion, makes sense. He's bringing in Despise. I like Despise one way to deal with Disciple of Grace or Blood Baron. Actually, I think the best sideboard card that a Zombies player had for Abzan is actually Simon, who had Dead Drop. It's a little bad. It's pretty terrible against Lingering Souls, but I think it's definitely your best answer for Blood Baron and Disciple of Grace. Hey, Donald, how are you doing? All right. Simon says that Electric Setter boarded in Cage, Souls, and Disciple, not Revelation against them in the tournament Saturday. Dead Drop was awful. Wish I was playing Persecute instead. Fair enough. I thought it was... I mean, it looked really good when your opponent had 2 Blood Barons and you had Dead Drop in hand the other day, but you couldn't get your 9th or whatever, how much it cost, card or mana. Alright, so PG8 actually has the best hand there for this matchup. He has a 1-drop. One of them is Gravecrawler. He actually has a lock on turn 2. He's going to play a 1-drop here, and then have Dart Ritual into 1-drop, into Gravecrawler is my upkeep cost every turn for Contamination. So Electric Trader needs to have Duress, which I don't know if he actually has post-board. Or he needs to have a Fertile Ground. He has the opportunity to have the Fertile Ground because he's on the play before the Contamination comes down. Are we going to see Fertile Ground? A Duress? Okay, Remorseful Cleric works in a way. Because it means that PG8 needs either another Gravecrawler or just another way to make to upkeep the Contamination. Blood-Soaked Champion is actually what he needs. So, okay, you attack there. They can't block, obviously, because they need to keep it exiled, the Gravecrawler. You can you play Dark Graphical, right? No. Yeah, you can play Dark Graphical, Dark Ritual, Contamination. On your upkeep, you sack the Gravecrawler. They're going to exile your graveyard. Then you go 3rd land, attack, play Blood-Soaked Champion, and like Dire Graphical or whatever, and then you just start after that, whenever you attack, you just return to Blood-Soaked Champion and then replay it because you have 3 mana. So, let's talk about the format. I think we got lucky in one way because we got a pretty powerful... we got Urza's Saga, so we had a powerful set of cards to play with, to brew with. Unfortunately, most of these cards are very dumb. Show and Tell is very dumb. Contamination is very dumb in terms of gameplay. It literally just there's a reason they don't make these cards anymore. They literally just end the game way too quickly. They do not encourage interaction. Or I guess you could say that Contamination is an interaction, but it means you will only need one interaction for the rest of the game. And so Saga brought in a few, even Sneak Attack as well, Flock Trader. They brought in these combo non-interactive cards, which made for pretty mediocre gameplay that the games were mostly decided very quickly. So that's a downside, but at least I think the deck building part was fairly interesting. And that's the main reason we want to play Set Roulette or offer Set Roulette is the deck building part. it would be nice if at some point we got one format that was good for deck building and gameplay. But I think we still think that doing this randomly and choosing sets randomly is a lot more fun and will lead to formats that never existed before. So we're going to continue doing that, and we're just going to hope that next time we actually have gameplay that's a little bit more interesting. One thing we're going to do, so we want to guarantee we always have 2 pre-modern sets. And when I say pre-modern, it's Onslaught or 7th? No, Onslaught and anything below that. So we want to guarantee a big set of pre-modern and a small set of pre-modern. And the rest is random. Well, everything is random, but the first random is amongst pre-modern stuff. And we are not going to include sets that have already been picked because we want diversity, and we most definitely don't want to have contamination again. Is it possible to get standard legal sets in the random draw? Would suck to get something like Eldraine as one of the sets as one of the draws to this format to get a bit away from 2019 Magic. Yeah, I think we could say something like we're not including standard sets. But on the other hand, I think it's pretty cool to see, like, to look at cards from a new set and see how it interacts with old sets. But I think we can easily afford to wait until they're out of standard to do that. Yeah, guilds and art. Yeah, these would actually be amazing. All right, so... Okay, so Electric Sweater did bring in Ray of Revelation, so we get to see it here. Thanks for showing your hand, Electric Sweater. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. PG8 had literally some of the best draws he could have hoped for, and Electric Sweater not having green game 1 was, I think, relevant because at the end, I think he might have had 1 or 2 cards in hand. So, you know, this was not the most interesting gameplay. But there was things to talk about, at least. Congratulations to PG8. He is the winner of the first Set Roulette. As I posted in the chat earlier, there's already another Set Roulette scheduled. We will be revealing the sets, randomizing the sets with full details Sunday before. So it's May 24th. So it's going to be 7 days prior to that. So it's going to be May 17th, right? Yeah, I did math correctly. So May 17th, we're going to reveal the next format. 1 week later, on Sunday, May 24th, is going to be the next Set Roulette. I put the link in chat right now. You can go register. You get feedback right to us on Twitter. Tag us. Have conversations about the format. Really, we've created this format to bring something new. We've had a lot of positive feedback too. I know that Stuart and Paul Green were talking about how this is the best way they've played Magic in years, and they've really enjoyed it, so super happy. I want to say thanks to you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys are watching now, but thanks a lot for rescheduling the finals. Really appreciate it. And again, congratulations to Paul, the winner. I think it's pretty fitting that Zombies is winning the tournament just because it was dominating in popularity. It seemed like the best deck at first glance, and yeah, just look at the list. It is just so good. We see it here. It's like if I were to slot that deck into like what format could, like, what do you guys think? Do you think this deck would be a power level of Modern? Probably not, because of Astrolabe and it fucks up Contamination, but like, it just in a vacuum, like, if Astrolabe was not one of the most played card right now or something, like, I think this is definitely way better than a Pioneer deck, right? Just because of Art Ritual and Contamination. So I think that has to be like a Modern power level deck. Donald says, will this be uploaded on YouTube? This will definitely be uploaded on YouTube, so you can rewatch. This will be probably published by tomorrow morning. I'm just going to do it right after the stream. Do you guys have any question before I leave, before we close the stream? go back to my beautiful face. Modern Pioneer. Yeah, I think that would make sense. So I'm gonna plug the schedule for this week. If you scroll down, if you're on desktop and you scroll down, you'll see our info section, and you will see our schedule for the week. So tomorrow we have the Arena Super Show, which is a French talk show. On Wednesday we have DZ streaming at 7:30, I believe. On Thursday, we have a weekly trial at 7 p.m. EST, so that's standard, and 4 players get a Magic Fest Online Daily Qualifier voucher, free for all subscribers of the Society. On Friday, we have Goblin Credible streaming some MTG Arena at, want to say 6:30. It's all right down below in the info section. And we also have, on Saturday, we have the Arena Community Cup. So that's like, the Arena Community Cup is our marquee tournament. Since we started doing anything with Mythic Society, literally the first thing that we did, even before streaming, was actually the Arena Community Cup. It's a standard tournament. It's Saturday, 1K in prizes and store credit prizes from the Mythic store. It's going to be 7 or more rounds plus cut to top 8 standard with Ikoria. Let's read chat real quick. Can't wait for the next one. Big ups to Mana Traders, would be impossible without them. Shout outs to us for running Mana Traders out of combination Saturday morning. Yeah, that's actually something I was wondering with my friends when we looked at the format first. We're like, how many people are going to use Mana Traders, and how many combination does Mana Traders have? Because they don't need to stock that card. It's not really played anywhere outside of this. So pretty funny. The card actually went up also amongst like bots because people bought them specifically for this. It was pretty funny. All right, so I'm gonna leave you with all that, and hopefully I see you Saturday. Again, it's free for the Twitch subscribers of the Mystic Society. 1K prizes, standard. We have a fresh new standard. It's going to be exciting. We have coverage, again, by Swagoi Gaming. So I believe Carolyn and Eric Hawkins will be the commentators again. They have like a little team of production, so they might swap people. I'm not sure. But for the last times, that's what they've been doing. What's it? Oh, okay. I'm not going to leave yet because I have very interesting questions. Donald says, "What set of Pokemon is that?" So this is. I spent so much time building this, and quite a lot of money too. So this is actually, yeah, it's going to be complicated to show it properly, but it's actually the first. Okay, the 151st Pokemon's. Like the first gen, basically. So it's the first printing of all the first gen Pokemons. So it's like it's base set. So I have like base set Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise, all that stuff. And then because not all the first Pokemons are in the first in base set, basically, because there's not even 151 cards in this set. There's fossil cards and jungle cards, and I also in the bottom corner have Mew as a promo. So yeah, so it's like it's cards from, unfortunately not the first edition printing, but it's the unlimited printing of base set, fossil, and jungle with all the Pokemons, and they're all sorted by Pokedex number. So I wanted to have something for this wall because it's a white wall, and it's like a collecting thing. Like these cards, I think this wall is worth like 1.5k in cards or something. And I don't know, I just wanted to have these cards as a collector item, and it's just a really good way to display them. Actually, I'll take a picture, Donald, and I will send it to you over Facebook. All right, I sent it to you. Qu'est-ce qui a gagné le trial? Okay, so what won the trial today? I actually don't even know. Let's see. We'll discover together. Let's see. All right. So if you go to the Mythic Society page, organizers page, you see all of our tournaments. You see our past tournaments. So today, the tournament was won by Mono Black Aristocrats. So there were 3 4 players. So Mono Black Aristocrats, Timmy Reclamation, and Azorius Aristocrats? That doesn't sound right. It's not Azorius. It's Orzhov Aristocrats. Yep. So here it is. No, Schneier, you can't forget about the trials. They're all on Monday 1 p.m. and Thursday 7 p.m. That's the schedule that we landed on, and we're going to keep until we have a reason not to do it that way. So, yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go spend a little evening with my girlfriend, and want to say thanks again for participating in the Set Roulette. It was awesome. We had such good positive feedback that we're for sure running it again. And I can't wait to reveal the sets on May 17th. Don't forget this weekend, Arena Community Cup. Go register now. Live coverage. If you cannot play, be there. So I'm gonna go. I guess we're gonna go raid someone. Let's see. Let's see who's available. Who's streaming? Send you beautiful 8 viewers to them. Let's see. Oh, Sunny Dog is streaming. Playing a Magic Fest Online. Playing a Magic Fest Online qualifier. So we're gonna raid Sandy Dog. He's a Modern Master in all formats. So we'll be raiding him. Again, have a pleasant evening, and I'll see you soon. Let's say hi to Sandy Dog, okay, Brandon.